Hi, Mark, and welcome to the current Outside Views report on Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine. There are a lot of trolls and fake news out there, so I decided to concentrate a bit more on the topic of the war for the time being on this channel. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has emphasized the strength of his own armed forces in the fight against the Russian invasion. The country showed the strength of Ukraine in the fight against the Russian invaders for everyone around the world. In the speech, Zelenskyy recalled the recapture of Snake Island in the Black Sea a year ago. This not only regained control of the island, but of a significant part of the Black Sea. Once again, Zelenskyy paid tribute to the various units of the Ukrainian armed forces and named a large number of fighters who gave their lives for Ukraine's victory. Zelenskyy said again that Ukraine is making progress with its counteroffensive. Strengthening the artillery in the south and east obviously has priority, and he also thanked Denmark for a new defense package including artillery, but also anti-aircraft missiles and mine clearance equipment. Ukraine has been defending itself against Russian invasion with Western help for more than 16 months now. Spain's Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez travels to the Ukrainian capital of Kiev, or traveled there this Saturday to take over the scheduled EU Council presidency. He wanted to underline the continued support of the European Union for the country attacked by Russia. The war in Ukraine will be one of the top priorities of our presidency, is what Sánchez said on Friday after attending the EU summit in Brussels. One wants to guarantee the unity of all member states. That's why he decided to start the 6-month period in Kiev and with a meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy. The fourth largest EU country will succeed Sweden for the next 6 months, or they just did that. The left-wing minority government has big plans. Under the motto "More Justice," they want to promote the introduction of common minimum standards for corporate taxation, the fight against tax evasion by large multinational corporations, and the completion of the banking union. However, Sánchez may have little time to realize these goals. According to polls, the opposition Conservative People's Party, the PP, is likely to receive the most votes in the parliamentary elections on July 23rd and could then take over the government together with the right-wing populist Vox. Should that happen, the new government team would have to sort themselves out first and then possibly set other priorities. The 27 EU member states take turns presiding over the EU Council every 6 months. The presidency chaired numerous meetings in Brussels, but also in Luxembourg and its own country, set its own priorities and tries to mediate in controversies. My home country, Germany, last held the presidency in the second half of 2020. But Ukraine has also begun strengthening protection of its northern border in the face of a possible establishment of the Russian Wagner mercenaries in Belarus. Commander-in-Chief Valery Salushny and Lieutenant General Serhiy Nayev, who is responsible for the northern section, were commissioned with the security precautions. That is what President Zelenskyy announced on Telegram on Friday. This decision was made after consultations with the High Command. After the short-term uprising of the Wagner mercenary group against the Russian military leadership, which ended last week Saturday, Belarus granted refuge to the fighters who had fallen out of favor with the Kremlin. The NATO member state Poland had also previously announced that it would strengthen protective measures at the EU's external border with Belarus, which is already secured by a fence. According to unconfirmed reports from independent media, the construction of camps for the Wagner army has already started in Belarus. Belarusian ruler Alexander Lukashenko, who brokered an end to the uprising between the Kremlin and Wagner chief Yevgeny Prigozhin, said the troops' combat experience would benefit his country. Last Saturday, Prigozhin escalated a power struggle with the Russian military leadership. He wanted to prevent the planned incorporation of his mercenaries by the Department of Defense. His fighters started an uprising, in the meantime occupying the southern Russian city of Rostov-on-Don and marching towards Moscow. Around 200 kilometers from the Russian capital, Prigozhin gave up surprisingly after mediation by Lukashenko. Kremlin chief Vladimir Putin assured Prigozhin and the Wagner rebels of impunity. Many observers saw the events as a loss of control and a weakening of Putin. Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov dismissed the armed mercenary uprising as just a mess last weekend, and in addition, he urged the West to stay out of domestic affairs. The head of the Wagner mercenary group, Yevgeny Prigozhin, has escalated this power struggle with the Russian military leadership last Saturday, and his fighters did start this uprising there before all this surprising ending of it. Ending is another question. But now Prigozhin is supposed to be in Belarus and quite a number of his mercenaries as well. And so that is why some countries are indeed quite concerned, because they were, for example, the major force of the Russians in Bakhmut and the fight over that city that's completely destroyed now. So it will be something we all will have to keep an eye on, and I will keep you informed when I hear news from their stationing in Belarus. But if you want to know some more news now, the next video is right here in the end screen. I'll see you there. I'll be back.